Hello everyone. In this video we're gonna talk about, this is not a video, it's a stream. In this stream we're gonna talk about Acustica Audio MYSTIC. And there's been talk around that when it came out, and a lot of people asked me, some people on Patreon and Discord as well, they asked me like, does it work for you? Does it do what you think it should do? And how do you find the EQ, the preamp, the compressor? A lot of people that were discussing this plugin when it came out, I remember reading, they said, well, the dynamics don't quite work for me. I expected this compressor to do some stuff and it wouldn't do it, and I don't know what it's supposed to do, what's the original channel strip all about. So I thought we would cover it live because it's just a fun thing to do. I think I have the right piece to kind of underline how I find the compressor useful, but the bottom line for me is that it doesn't work for you, maybe you or somebody else, because you're not using it the way this thing kind of wants to be used. Does it make any sense? The original unit, let's be clear, I have never tried and used. I might have seen it once at a fair, might have been Music Messe, might have been NAMM, probably NAMM, but I'm thinking it was in the hall, but I just didn't stop by or anything. But I kind of remember the original brand. Anyway, I have no experience over the real hardware stuff. I just, used the plugin and took it from there. But what some people don't realize, in my opinion, is that this thing is not meant to do tons of very versatile compression styles, in my opinion. It's got two ways of looking at it. It could be a sort of a channel strip preparation if you're recording, or it could be a sort of a finalizer, or just kind of like a boutique color contributor somehow. And all in between, like the heavy smashing or the typical, heavy duty meat and potato stuff, to me isn't worth doing on this plugin. It's just my opinion. Your opinion might be different, of course. So I'm gonna show you, let's go through the interface and what it does. And then I'm gonna show you why and how this could be useful. Surprisingly enough, I've picked this sketch of mine that I wrote probably months ago. And I wasn't sure this was the one, but I actually think it's perfect for depicting. Maybe puts this plugin on a good light because it's kind of the right example for this type of plugin. But, that's what it is. It's a good thing. Maybe something else would put it to shame. I don't know. But this kind of highlights it very well. So, more power to it. Left to right, you've got low pass and high pass, and you've got a preamplifier section that can do auto gain, that has a debump of sorts, which we found on El Rey, if you remember, right? And there's the ultra quality or not, right? So if you engage the preamp, you can have it auto gain, which means when you move pre out, you are saturating the input, but you're compensating at pre-out level. So you're not gonna get, or at the main level, we're gonna see like you can get more level out of the pre, but you can also compensate for it, which is in the auto gain. I don't exactly remember which of the two are. You probably don't touch the pre-out and you just go up with the level. These will saturate things. We'll see it in a second. And then you can decide whether or not you want to take that saturation up, which is a nice thing, having two stages, right? But if auto gain is compensated, we're going to have a way to create more saturation without increasing volume. We're going to increase only the harmonic content of it. Then we move to the right, where there's an EQ, where you have just lows and highs. So right there, you've got two situations, which I have no idea whether or not they're shelves or peaks. And I'm going to tell you the truth, I don't care. We're going to use them, find a spot that sounds nice, that's it. It's nice that it goes up to 400 for the lows, whether they're very wide bells or shelves or anything. It's nice. Just looking at it, when I saw 400, I was like, all right, nice. But without the new interface that Acoustic Audio developed, it would be very hard to guess where you're jumping from 100 to 400. Luckily now we got numbers. So you see that little tiny number there that is changing. I could make the interface bigger, but I'm not going to do it. And that's the actual number in hertz, cycles per second, CPS. And kilocycles per second is the kilohertz of, which is actually then in hertz, the numbers there. That goes from 7 to 16. So again, big jumps, but James wrote, which I was kind of thinking about, are these Baxi-Q curves? We should investigate, I say. So let me try and load the curve analyzer. Hopefully it will work. All right. Was I quick or what? So yes, there's a new version. Okay, so let's put these two off and let's take a look at what happens in terms of, we're gonna go in 6 dBs increment because it's got a +6. So if I go pre-out, this is our flat. And you see that representation there, right? It's a complete flat line. You got no color whatsoever. We're not really seeing the harmonics at the moment, but just so you know, when you go on, you got, quite a nice bump. But remember, I'm at 12, so let's go back to 0 here. Does it change anything? Well, it's giving it some, am I right or not? No, okay. Well, so the bump you're gonna have anyway, you're just kind of bulging the whole thing. If you remove the auto gain, then, okay, I had a little bit of pre-out. If you remove the auto gain and you level up, now you're really increasing gain, which is more or less what you have on real hardware, right? You go plus on the input, you're gonna have more gain and you need to compensate after. But once you're compensating with the output, for those of you who are thinking like, why is this happening? If you compensate with the output, the other big knob you see, you are actually driving the whole section, the EQ, the compression, and maybe you don't want to do that. The good thing about plugins, I don't think the original hardware has that. Some units do, but here in digital, you can say, well, auto gain the thing. Just go up and give me more harmonic content, but please don't give me more gain, because I'm not looking for gain, just more harmonic content. If you debump this, oh, look at this. I'm thinking then we take these off, which is sort of the color of the unit in terms of frequency response, but I'm positive we're gonna keep the harmonic content. And then the pre-out, I was telling you before, it is an effective output trim outside. I'm not sure this is gonna be colored or not. Could be super clean. I think this is a nice thing that they added, and it could be in all plugins. Like you choose your saturation and then you trim it up, because you might want the equivalent of 12 dBs of saturation, but you just want to maybe nudge it 1 dB. Can do that. So especially if you're carving frequencies out here. Let's try the filters now. So here it is. That's our high pass, and this is our low pass. So 19, we're pretty far out right here, because this is 10. This plugin probably isn't going that far. All right, it should be 20 kilohertz, right? All right, 24 kilohertz. That's a nice thing. We go 10 to 24, all right, because we're investigating filters, so we should do that. So if I put 1, all right, nothing happens. Because we don't see it. How about 8? Oh, it's a true 8. Okay. 10. Okay. 5. So this is doing it. We're down to the 5 hertz points. This is nice. How about 19,009? Okay, this is still there. Jury's still out. Okay, so it looks like there's nothing going on from 18 out. So it could be the analyzer, you know, because the high pass actually does it. So there we go. Okay, well, these two, they work. The bump or debump we saw, so we got, if you debump, we're getting just the colors, but with a theoretical kind of thing, because no analog piece of hardware can do 0 hertz for sure. And this is more like what they sampled. Now, let's keep this debumped. How about we try this EQ? So once you engage the EQ, okay, there's a little bit of low cut, high cut, low pass, and Nyquist. That's okay. And how do we do this? All right, so super looks like a very wide bell, or it could be a shelf type behavior in which they also captured the high pass. So, and James, obviously, hello Eric, said, does the low pass behavior change if you add oversampling? That's a good question. So let's do this. Let's do 18 just for kicks here on, boom. And let's go oversampling times 2. Okay, how about we go here now? Okay. Well, I see something, but this is probably, yeah. This low pass is the oversampling. All right, so 4 times. It's still stepping from 18 down. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna keep the oversampling at 1 for now. It's a 48K, it's okay. So the low pass, I was saying, seems like we're on it's a shelf behavior or a kind of a very wide bell, but I think that could also be the high pass engaging. So no idea, but definitely wide. How about the highs? Same thing. So I say these are kind of shelvy or wide bells. I mean, the effect isn't to find, you know, like a notch and dip it for sure. You can go down in frequencies here, but it's probably a plus thing. Very nice. So you can smile it up a little bit, you know. It tends to be quite meaty here. See how we reach out to the 1K pretty much all the time? All right, that's pretty cool. Let's turn these off. I love the logo here with the little eye thing. And now the compressor, well, here we can't really see that, but we got gain reduction. We got sidechain from 0 to 250 hertz, wet dry. Okay, we can trim this, which let me just check. I think, okay, gain reduction is our threshold, and it's in reverse, the knob positioning. Trim is probably right. So trim is trimming it looks like it's trimming the input of the compressor in probably a clean way. And again, why don't you do it with the auto gain pre-out? Because if you do that with the pre-out, you're probably also saturating the EQ circuit. So it's 2 different things. I like to have additional trims, never hurts, especially if you want to kind of master stuff. Makeup gain, it's makeup gain. And then you got a final output. Okay, why would you want, I'm now teaching, I know, but why would you want a makeup gain and an output knob if they essentially do the same stuff? Well, a makeup gain knob is conceived to be something that offsets the result of the operational dynamic control of your compressor. And once things are in check, only then would you use the output to finalize the trimming that you have. Because if you like the compression you're getting and you like the makeup you're getting, it doesn't make sense in terms of electronics to go more makeup. You say, okay, this unit works, I'm just gonna output +1, for example. So it's a welcome thing. It doesn't, and if you output this +6 and you turn the compressor off, the output stays there, while the makeup doesn't work if your compressor is off. So they're two completely different things, right? But once things flow, you might think like, we don't need that, right? Well, no, we do. We actually do. So that's pretty much the rundown. The time envelopes are slow or fast, and you can, navigate in between, but it doesn't quite have a lot of control. So when I saw this and people said like, well, I tried it on a snare and I tried it on bass and I tried it on electric guitars, it doesn't feel to me as something you would get even in the real, analog world, to say, oh, I'm gonna mangle everything and I don't need distressors, I don't need, whatever, API EQs and stuff. This is more of a broad picture thing. So yeah, how about we try span with a real-time visualizer? Let me try that. We might be able to see some gain. So let me do tone. Actually, test generator. All right. I don't want you to hear that, nor I want to hear it. So we're gonna disable stream, disable main, and silence. So no preamplifier. That's what we get. These harmonics here are just noise. Whatever's happening here is, and also I'm sending a 440. Let's do a -18. Let's do a -16. Sine at 1 kilohertz. So this is just, it's normal. We could even trim this to this stuff. And this is basically our clean signal down to 108. It's what? Probably around a little bit more than 16 bits, maybe 20, 18 bits, whatever. Let's keep it that way. Let's try and keep everything at 0 and go on. And let's see if we gain some harmonics, which we do. Here it is. We got a 2K. Then when we auto gain and pump it up, we get a lot more. So now, because we're at 18, I'm thinking, can we completely destroy this? Yeah. So this is now the behavior of something that is clipping 24 over -18. So we're past. You see the meter here says 0, right? So now, we're getting that at 0 anyway? It shouldn't. Why is it stuck at 0? Shouldn't be there. Oh, because this is a compressor. Right. What you're seeing here in the meter, it got me. It's actually gain reduction. Boom. Okay. So we are bound to this meter on the right. Okay. Which is getting auto gained. And so that's the output. Can we monitor the input? Nope. Okay. Can we change something to visualize the input? I don't think so. Maybe we can. Oh, we got compression modes that I forgot about. But okay, well, we got that. How about the EQ? So suppose I have no preamplifier with no auto gain or with auto gain. If I engage my EQ, do I get colors? Nope. Doesn't look like this is coloring things. Okay. If I engage my compressor, am I getting color? Well, this, yes, actually. Is it compressing? No. So there's a little bit of third harmonic. We're like, look at how it sounds. You remember that? Man, those people. Anyway, it's not 100% clear. Obviously, if you start compressing and you say, oh, I get a lot of that, well, you're now compressing, right? So look at this meter, how slow that is to go back. Ooh, okay. And that is off. So maybe a little bit of color, you do have it, even if it's off. This could be beneficial. If you're mastering, you want to be like super analytical and stuff. So let me remove that. Let me remove the test generator. Let me remove the bottom. And let me turn on stream and main because otherwise we don't hear anything. So how does it fare in use? Okay, so let's reset everything. 0, no preamplifier, I'm gonna put it off. What would I start on? Like, I would set, let's do a startup preset, which is something you like. I know you do. I'm gonna do 30 and out, actually. And because you can't turn them on and off. So if I do this, we go instantly into 30 Hertz. These I like. I'm probably gonna go no debump. I don't see why we should debump. So we know there's a little bit of high pass. I'm gonna keep it here. Then what do we do here? We could do 100. That would be a nice thing. And we go +1. And we could go 10K. If you're that kind of person, we could do this. We could set probably the time to 33. I don't know. Dry, wet 100. None of these. Maybe around 18, maybe 24 to get some action. No trimming. Maybe forgetting around that, we could do 2 dBs of compression, maybe 4, so that when you go on, you instantly have some behavior there. And the sidechain I would keep at 0 initially, maybe, just to feel it. And you could save this. Go save and say Alberto's startup, right? So we have it. This could be 1, or you could do 220, you could do 8,100, and you still do 1, and maybe you do +6 on this, just because I feel that oftentimes they're kind of not coloring that much. No debumping, 30 is fine. Maybe here we gotta do 18 because we're pumping up from there, but I'm actually gonna keep it out. The rest one, this one here, we could go maybe 110. Am I making these up? Now maybe a faster thing, and maybe like 2/3, or maybe 50-50. This could be a second one. Now they got mode classic, mode unlinked 0 attack. So I think this kind of a limiter kind of scenario, I would go unlinked. And maybe makeup, we only need 2. Could save these, Alberto's Mojo, you know, and you got 2 of these. So this is always off. Let's keep it in bypass. I'm gonna play you my sketch, and then we're gonna mess it up, I assume. I would like to spend 2 words on why this video is possible. It happens because of my patrons. I have a Patreon in which I teach songwriting, scoring for video games and writing soundtracks, being creative, exploring hardware synthesizers, analog outboard, virtual instruments, sample libraries, mixing and mastering. We talk about recording. There's a lot of cool people in there. Check my Patreon out if you would like to support me. It really means a lot to me, and it makes these videos and the future ones possible. So thank you very much. I'm not gonna let you hear the 40 seconds of just silent, of tail. So this is it. Very, very low dynamics for the first part, or like low level for the first part, high dynamic range, huge change there, right? So, and then there's like the busier parts got sparkle. So what I would do is, you know, if you were on the clock, you would tell somebody to just get this part and play it and loop it and say, try it there. That's the first thing I would be interested on because it's got more stuff. So just, let's add it. I'm gonna try pretty much everything and make up my mind on what things do. I like this thing. I think it's actually one of the best things they've done because they've kind of learned here to bite their own tongue a little bit. Not on social networks, on the plugin. So it's, it's, let me start, like, what do I want to say? Okay, the preamplifier was the first move I did. It crunches the right way. Like, it hasn't destroyed our hearing. It hasn't clipped. It hasn't done weird stuff. Up until 12, it's, 2B, and then it completely destroys itself because it was too loud. So that's a good thing. And I kind of liked it. At one point, I heard it was kind of breathing differently, and I liked it. I didn't really change the pre-out, but you could have. And the difference between, I haven't played with the Ultra or not, but the debump really opened it up because we heard what, the color of the curvature was. I really liked it. Once I turned debump off, it was, it blossomed a little bit. I like that. And then the filters which are really effective here. There's a ton of lows. There's not a ton of lows, but a ton of sub, which is its own color. But what I did was I actually redesigned the whole thing. I'm cutting at around 50 and I'm boosting at around 61. I even went kind of close, like 60-60. It worked. And, I did that. I tried the low pass by itself. Didn't find it useful for that purpose. But once I did +4, +6 on 10 kilohertz, then yes, the low pass makes sense because you're boosting so much that you don't want the extremes. So you use the high with the low pass and the low with the high pass. They're together. You get a shape for the lows and the highs. Really nice. Really back sandal-ish to me, I would say, because of how you kind of smile it. And it was already fine. But you gotta admit that these I haven't improvised because I've played with this a little. The settings for the dynamics were that, like boom, it had actually 4 dBs of compression, but it was making up 2. And so it wasn't really giving its best because it was not, compensated at a 50-50, but it was already nicer. Like things were staying up somehow. And what I did before, that was luck. I heard that the EQ was bringing up quite a lot of energy, and so what I did was I pre-trimmed. You saw it, like I pre-trimmed and turned the compressor on, if I recall right. The time factor at 67 is kind of nice. I'm telling you, if you do parallel, that stuff kind of floats. I haven't really even changed that. The high pass for the sidechain at 110, it's kind of a de facto, kind of standard on these tube-ish things. It works. And it brings it up. It makes it a little bit more enticing. It doesn't slow it down as tubes would do, maybe because of the plugin, maybe because it's a really high quality thing. Look at that magenta kind of stuff. I love this interface. It's one of my favorites, actually. So what else? It worked. And we are oversampling one times. Incredible. So what we should do is, I want to show you how, when we take it a little bit before here, how this type of compression would be beneficial for things that have dynamic range. Now, I'm not saying you have to use this on, for example, scoring soundtracks and stuff. And I don't want to talk about the bad side, but it's a taste thing. Do you hear how somehow we get that gentle slowing down of the tubes-ish kind of behavior? Like, you put a nice record on, you got a nice drink, slow things down, nice tube amplifier, that kind of feeling. It isn't as much as other vintage emulations and things, but I still get that tube thing. And I personally don't fall into that category of wanting that. I don't know if that's proper English or not, but I used to like it a little bit in the beginning, and then it was like always, it's not modern enough, it's not fast, but it has nothing to do with what the plugin sounds like, if it's good or not. But I thought, we should mention it because we're not selling this plugin. We're just saying, does it work? So I don't want you to get the idea that this is amazing and this is going to go on my mix bus, because I'm very kind of wary and I don't gel well with what I write for tape and tubes. I don't know why. I mean, I explained why. But the dynamic range that this thing has can be preserved in the euphonic sense, but it can be tamed, because the risk here is that someone, if this was music that plays underneath a scene or something, you're going to have issues with getting this sketch accepted, although that wasn't the case, because you have such a dramatic change that the audio lead will have to kind of wing it, because you will cover dialogue or you will feel absent. So the first part is too low or the second part is too high. But if you play nicely from the get-go as a composer, you can deliver something that already has, and that's probably the real teaching, instead of explaining stuff for acoustic audio. As a composer, you get a little bit more leeway because you're sending something that they're gonna put under the video, and yes, they could tweak it. Yes, they should tweak it. They don't. They will just put it down there and say, that's not what we thought. And it might be the dynamic range. For how funny that is, trust me. So these compressors, which aren't gonna work that much for people who say, like, drums, bass, it could, but it's not what I heard, could be beneficial for stuff like this. So let's try this whole thing without, I would actually be tempted to not touch anything and just use the compressor to show you. But what we had here sounded fine. So let's turn it off, play it, and feel the transition between low energy, high energy, and see if we can tailor that without losing the punch. Okay, with actually think it works. Now, while we're going, let me turn off the compressor on the low dynamics part. Does it drop? Let's hear it. You heard it? Let's try it again. That much. And don't make bad jokes. That much. Let's try it again. This is very important. I don't care about the plugin anymore. The concept. Hear it out. I'm going to actually start from before. With the compressor, then I'm going to remove it. You heard it? What we could do is fill it in terms of like design it on, you know, loudness stuff. How about without the compression? This part from bar 5 to 10. Minus 26. How about this part, the louder part? Minus 16. So now we have minus 26, minus 16. I'm telling you, it's a lot. And it's not gonna get liked. So how about this part? Let's try it with the compressor into the louder, with the compressor on. Right? You saw it? We went from minus 26 to minus 16, from minus 23 to minus 20, 19 something. So it was 10 dBs against what? 3? I already forgot. 4-ish? Less than half. Does it feel like less than half? Some people might say like, absolutely yes. Well, does it destroy the message of the sketch? Does it destroy the surprise factor, the energy, the thing? I don't think it does. I think it sounds good. What's the principle behind this? It's parallel compression, kind of a forgiving, floating, buoyance giving compressor envelope. Like in this case, it's 67 towards fast. A little bit of sidechain compression because frequent, like a sidechain engaging for the HPF at 110. So we'll leave the lows alone. We don't have huge fluctuations because we're ignoring the extreme lows. And then 38% dry wet. So it's like half and half, right? I find that these work. So we went from minus 26 because you got to measure this stuff. If you don't measure this, you can say, well, it kind of feels on a day, it might feel crunched. On the other day, it might feel too dynamic. So I'm telling you, minus 26 to minus 16 can be a beautiful thing for somebody who sits there and has total silence and loves it. Absolutely. And they love to get hit. If you have like a full DTS system and you want all that, it could be right. But for putting a sketch out, if it's a video game and people are playing with sound effects on, or if it's a dialogue for a movie, if it's music that's going to support something, this stuff is good because we went from 10 to 3 and change, I think, or from 11 to 4-ish, but it doesn't feel that way. And the problem with most parallel compressions, which is something I would say you could keep Mystic in mind for, even without the other functions, is that it gets mushy in the parts that are transitioning to the energy or that are keeping the energy up. This one actually doesn't. So maybe it's hyper that in some cases to me felt a little bit too dry and clean, or I don't know, like not the original Acustica Audio stuff. I'm not always a fan of the hyper modes, but this one actually has it. So we should try it on maybe something else, maybe a rock tune or something. Do I have it? Probably. Oh, you know what? No, we're not gonna do that, because I want to show you like what does it sound like if you full compress this thing. You know, let's say that we know this tune, let's explore this. So I'm gonna save our B because we keep B and we like it. Let's try full compression here, just to get a vibe for the unit. See, I don't quite like it now. It's just, I hear it floating and trying to grab stuff. It's fast, but it's not doing fast stuff. It's influenced by a lot of stuff. So let's go the opposite route. A little bit better. It gets that sharpness, it gets the detail up because of the sidechain being so high, but still not why I kind of like this. I think it's kind of cool this way with B. So, but now what we could do is I want to try and use actually a normal meter here. This guy here. I want to see if we can put a second Mystic and put it in unlinked zero attack. And I don't want any of this, nothing. We just use this guy here, unlinked zero attack. I want to see if this guy can be like true peak or something like it. I have no idea. I see zero attack. I think this is gonna be a limiter kind of approach. So hyper, all that stuff. So I'm gonna go 4 times oversampling. Let's try this. On. So if I thought about that while I was doing it, if I keep gain reduction to what, 0, probably, no sidechain, fast attack, full wet, and I trim up, I should reach a point in which I don't go over 0 if I calibrate it right. So I want to try and see if it's a true peak thing. Or at least a clipper, like a limiter stage, you know, 0 attack. So it's going the other way around. Okay, I see where we go. So we're trimming 4, this thing is compressing 4, then we make up 4. Let's try this. So no, because the makeup is more than what we're gaining. Okay, so we gain reduce at 4. Let's try this. I'm trying to think what this could do. Okay. I'm gonna trim the output down just so we don't get blasted, but we should reach a level in which we can't go past -6, right? Something like it. No. Okay, so this is probably not a limiter in itself, but what I'm hearing is that it's giving a lot of loudness for almost free. So I'm gonna try and find a setting I like and try and inject it down. Not what I would do on these genres, but you know, it's a cool thing on maybe on basses and stuff. Okay, what I hear is that it's crispy, like sort of a in-between clipper thing. For this genre, I wouldn't use it. But I'm thinking that if you have like some sort of EDM things, this could be a little bit of the ticket. Or, in my case, what I would think I would do is move this before the actual part. So the old trick of saying this way, it will not work that much, right? So everything at 0, even the envelopes, I'm gonna keep at 70, and then I'm gonna try and find a spot where I just see the needle going down. Like, you know what happens with the optone, the shadow heals, those things, right? It's heavy transient prevention rather than something else. I like it better when it's before. And this is now preventing heavy transients to kind of get in the way, which is nice. It's something that the shadow heals or things that have opto compressors before other types of compressors do, like sort of an analog limiter kind of. It's not perfect in catching. We don't need that. But now it's doable for this, and it could be another stage of dynamic gain reduction without really getting into forcing the compressor. So what I want to test is how much am I shrinking the gain reduction in this way. So let's try and run a test, like a sort of a reading without, and then I'm going to engage it and we're going to hear it. So we did 22 to 17.8. So it's around 5, right? Probably more into the 4. How about, oh, we have that. Loudness range 6.7. I don't usually do it that way, but all right. Now, 22 to minus 17. That's how I do it. Trust me. Let's do it that way. And I do it with the integrated that way. Now with on. Have you seen it? We took the minus 22, went up 1 dB, but we didn't quite get louder with the louder part. So how does it feel? I honestly, I wasn't paying attention to how it felt, and this should be another teaching. I was paying attention at the numbers. So now we go back to how does it feel, this transition, and to feel it, we need a bit more. Without. Heard that sub that just builds in? Kind of nice, I like that. Now with. I know it's on, so it's kind of hard to, I should do a blind test. Maybe it doesn't quite hit as much as before. It's got that transient loss, but it's a forgiving system. So I think, you know, they did that, zero attack and the unlinked. I don't know if they did it on purpose. They're going to say yes, but, you know, we're not 6 years old. So I think it's for us and actually a good way to make better use of the compressor, because dynamic range management is really nice with the unlinked mode. However, you can go one step further into it if you do a zero attack before. And I mean, we're going up 1 dB, so, you know, it's kind of a lot, but it doesn't quite feel unforgiving. It kind of has a little bit more leverage. Would I do more auto gain, more preamp stuff? No. Just keep it clean and use this as, you know, some kind of, you might like it to go 2 times on the color. I would keep it at 1. So that's pretty much it. This comes into the obviously channel strip section of their products, but I think as a dynamic management situation, also a bit of a mojo thing, it's a nice product. Kind of like this. And what other thing was I about to say? That there was something else that's now escaping me. Let's see. It could probably work on vocals. It could probably work on bass as well, but that's how I see the compressor behavior to work, like a suite of 2 plugins that can do that. There's zero latency as well. That's what I was gonna say. The zero latency is beneficial. I use these things a lot when they have close to zero latency, because I like to play stuff into kind of a working sound setup. So you can switch these to zero latency, keep maybe the oversampling at one time for your songwriting production session, and then just disable it in the zero latency and go normal latency and go 4 times whatever. You don't need to blast it, but for sure for peak recognition, zero attack times, I would probably pump it up a notch. So this is the demo version that I have. I've just downloaded the 30-day demo, and I'm sure it only has 96 kilohertz behind. I don't know. It could be 96 and 48. I'm at 48 in here, so I don't even think it technically sounds as good as the commercial version. But that's pretty much it. So if you have questions about, I can answer them, but that covers the Mystic line. Just one plugin. I don't know how expensive that's gonna be when the sale is over. I don't even know if the sale is on now, but it does a few things and it does them nicely. And call me old school, I don't know, maybe I grew up with too many strict teachers, but it's better to do less and as in better quality than just do tons of things so. So I like this. There's nothing to remember. It just looks clean, left to right, whatever that does. And yeah, all right, feels great. So this concludes the live stream for our Mystic moments. We had a Mystic moment together. It kind of sounded really good. And I showed you how I would approach the unit, the blending of actually 2 different behaviors in one for dynamic range control. And I think it can go a long way, and it might be something that some people I know will feel as a missing brick in their structure of songwriting and composing, because it does a few things, but it does them nicely. And it's a compressor that doesn't do everything for you, but seen through this perspective, I think it can be beneficial in situations like the ones I've demonstrated. So thank you very much for staying with me. Until next time, ciao.